So in the Torah this week, we read about Moses, who is deciding to go to Pharaoh and say those really famous words, ask that really big question. You remember what it is? What does he demand? You know, let my people go. That's right. This is the beginning of let my people go. And it turns out, according to the Torah, that was actually really hard for Moses to do. It was hard because sometimes words were hard for him to say. It says that he didn't always say his words quite right, and he knew that, and he was a little bit embarrassed. And he also was not always sure that he would do a good job with a job like that. And he was afraid. And his fear of not being sure he would do a good job almost kept him from listening to God when God asked him to go to Pharaoh and help free the people. And I think for a lot of people, fear of not doing a good job, fear of not being right, fear about getting laughed at, keeps us from doing really important things. Fear might keep us from trying something new that we might really enjoy. It might keep us from being in a play or playing a new sport or meeting new people. Fear might keep us from standing up for someone else, for saying to a bully that what they're doing is wrong, or telling someone who's sad that we really feel what they're feeling and we're sorry for how they feel. Or going to somebody in charge and telling them when we see a problem. Fear could keep us from doing all those things, being afraid. And fear might also keep us from being everything we can be, and that's for children and for adults too. So what I'd like you to do is raise your hand if sometimes when you're in a class, and it can be a grown-up class or a kid class, or it can be a memory of when you were a kid class if you're a grown-up, and raise your hand and tell me if sometimes your teacher asks you to raise your hand to give an answer. Does that ever happen? You have to raise your hand in a class because your teacher, yeah, okay. Put your hands down. Now raise your hand if sometimes you don't raise your hand because you're afraid that you're going to get it wrong. You should turn around and look at all these grown-up hands in the air. Yeah. This happens to all of us sometimes. And this is what happens to Moses, too, in this week's Torah portion. He almost didn't raise his hand when God tried to call on him to go to Pharaoh. He almost didn't stand up to Pharaoh, who's the biggest bully in the whole Torah. He almost didn't become a leader, which he was very good at in the end. Moses is described, raise your hand if you've read Charlotte's Web. Anybody read Charlotte's Web? Moses is described, like Wilbur, as being humble. You know that word, humble? Moses is described as being humble in the Torah. And that means somebody who is careful not to always make themselves the center of attention. Someone who always makes room for other people to shine. And our rabbis throughout the ages have said that Moses was being humble. He was humble a lot, and that was sometimes a good thing, and sometimes it was a bad thing. They said it was good for Moses to be humble because it showed that he could step back and see the big picture, that he had time to ask for the help that he knew he was going to need because he didn't jump in right away and make all that noise and take up all that space, that he thought hard about how to do what he was being asked to do. So it was good that he was humble. It's a good way to be. But the rabbis also say about Moses that he waited too long to be called on, that he was too afraid to try, and that wasn't a good thing. It's a really great Jewish value to be humble, our tradition says, to make room for other people, to talk, to not brag, and to know that we are not perfect at everything that we do. That's what a humble person knows, and that's a good thing for everyone to know. But it's also a Jewish value to be strong and to be confident and to get your hand in the air and to rise to the call when somebody needs you and when a voice inside you says it's time to try. So I want to offer you a saying that you can remember about this Jewish value. This is how Judaism views the way we should be humble in our lives, this balancing act I'm talking about. No more than my space, no less than my place. Want to try to say that with me? no more than my space, no less than my place. And what does that mean? It means it's a balancing act about being humble in Judaism. It means no more than my space. I won't take up so much space that other people don't have a chance to try. I won't be the only one who takes shots on the basketball court or getting the biggest helping at the dinner table. I won't take up all that space so there's none left for other people, no more than my space. But I won't take up less than my place, which means I deserve to be heard and seen and listened to, and I will make sure that I go for it so that I get what I deserve. Moses in the Torah reminds us that sometimes it is scary to put your hand in the air and be called on. Even he was scared of that. And it's okay to feel afraid of that. But just like Moses, we have got to push through our fear and take our shot and give it a try and get our hand in the air. We will be more fulfilled as people, and it's only when we put our hands up that we have the chance of helping other people who are afraid too. Because when you put your hand in the air, you make it okay for somebody else to do it too. So who thinks they might try to put their hand in the air a little more often? Okay. I really hope so, because we need lots of hands in the air. Shabbat shalom.